Okay, so Clare Marshall. Oh, so Jack has had to cancel, so we Clare Marshall. Clare, yep. So you have the great privilege of being the lucky last out of over 400, isn't it? It's 300 and something. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Congratulations.
I hope you're still focused. Tēnā koutou. Ko Clare Marshall tōku ingoa, hei kai koa hauki te kura o Oraka. E noho ana mātou ko tōku whānau ki Karoro Karoro. I'm a teacher at Shirley Primary, live in South Brighton, Clare Marshall. And this is the first time I've ever done this. It's way outside my comfort zone, and I've been told that adding my voice to my written comments is powerful, and the long-term plan is important. The plan does concern me because it's set to do with the damage to our city and our wider environment over the long term. Firstly, this plan does not take climate change nearly seriously enough. Deferring funds is not a sensible decision, like Portia was talking about, when every single scientist involved in the study of climate change and the potential effects on humans at home and around the world says to act sooner rather than later. I do wonder if you're a bit nervous to invest right now because you're not sure what to do. The problem is huge and real, but deferring funds for 3 or 10 years is not an option. Neither is the plan to finish the CCC Sustainability Fund in 2025. Focus funds now and focus more of them. Working towards targets for reduced emissions is not enough. I want my council to be reaching emissions targets, and you say you won't reach them, and this is not okay for me. One of the main actions you can and should be taking as a council is reducing car and truck traffic. I see 2 main ways to achieve this. 1, the plan should emphasise creating denser living environments, building up, not out. New subdivisions should have planning restrictions placed on them to enforce vertical apartment-style building rather than the sprawl we currently see taking over our green fields. People living in the current new subdivisions are obliged to get in their car just to buy milk. The city should be walkable, and for that, people need to be within walking distance of amenities, just like the modern cities of Europe. The current plan enables more and more urban sprawl, and we are fast becoming another Auckland. 2, we must encourage cycling. I personally do not think that Mr. Moga, who's not here today, is a fan of bikes, and it's this fact that makes me feel I'm wasting my time a bit asking for investment in cycling. After all, he does own a trucking company. However, it is an excellent alternative to driving, giving people, especially our young, freedom and independence. But we need safe cycleways to do this. No one's going to do it or let their kids do it if it's dangerous. I advocate strongly for the completion of current projects, Norwest Arc, Northern Line, South Express, Wheels to Wing, Southern Lights. They're all great projects next year. Bike lanes are cheaper per kilometre to build than roads for cars and have generally less maintenance. If you get more people on bikes now, then the budget required for car carriage renewal in future years will be less and reduction of emissions felt sooner. Our city is as flat as Amsterdam and should be just as bike-orientated. It's an indictment on both this and previous councils that the legacy of our earthquake has not been a radical switch to cycling as a primary means of transport in our city. I have a couple of other non-climate necessarily things to say. I actually didn't think I had anything to say to you when I got going. I had so much. So this is a cut-down version. We must continue funding the Arts Centre. How can you claim to be creating a cultural powerhouse city if you cease to fund one of the iconic cultural centres of the CBD? Millions has been spent repairing this centre post-earthquake. You've invested in improving the connection with the botanical gardens. More's been spent right now updating the museum. But if you pull funding from the Arts Centre, it's going to be an empty shell, a loss that we will all deeply feel. Do not cut library hours. Once places like libraries start changing their hours so public can no longer keep track of whether it's open or not, attendance and use drops off. Our libraries are something to be very proud of. The staff are amazing, the collections are impressive, and the facilities are pretty good. Do not start chipping away at this. Cruise ships. Did you know that along with dumping all that human waste into our oceans, they burn the same amount of fuel per day as 1 million cars? At the very least, the emissions from cruise ships that visit our city must be included in the long-term plan. But also, I want the council to stop paying my rate money to the national Kiwi organisation that supports their visits to Christchurch. I apologise, I do forget what the name of it, but they provide the buses for passengers and the print out the welcome brochures and whatever. I don't agree to pay that money, and please stop. Take that out of the budget. The sewage ponds. Ever since the fire, local residents are subjected to a stench of human excrement reminiscent of my visit to Delhi 30 years ago. It's not good enough. We do not live in a vibrant modern city when I step outside my door on a crisp, still morning like I did today and gag. I do not see which allocation in your wastewater budget is going to fix this system so it is A, not smelly, B, not pumping dirtier water than it should into our ocean. This should be a priority. It's fundamental that a city disposes of its waste properly. I'm sure if Maryvale residents live next to the wastewater plant, or indeed the mayor, it would be sorted by now. I also don't want my water chlorinated. It tastes disgusting. If the government is going to hand back control of water to councils, then I want chlorination removed where possible. We used to have the best tasting water anywhere in the world. Nowadays, the pong of chlorine from the kettle sometimes puts me off my cup of tea. And finally, please write your documents in standard approachable English and make them shorter. I'm an educated, pretty intelligent person, and I shouldn't have to try and decipher what you're saying. Here's an example I found really easily. Amendment to target is a reflection of the quantum of work achievable within the forecast capital programme. I think this means you don't have enough money to do more. Why don't you just say this? You'd get a lot more respect and engagement if you did. Although I see your target actually is only 33% engagement with our... That's not very good either. Anyway, thank you for letting me say something. It would be great to feel what I've said makes some difference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There was a really lively submission to end on, so thank you very much. It was cool.
Thank you very much.
So that brings us to the end, councillors, so we'll now stand for our closing karakia. Who wants to lead it off? Kelly? Kia whakaari.
Te tapu, kia wā te ara te ara, kia tūri ki whakataha ai.
Ai.
Kia tūri ki whakataha ai. Haumi e, hui e, tai ki e.
Oh. Oh, well done.